And how are we? Hope we're all good. It's James Smith here, okay? Proprietor, owner, designer, developer of channel JR74, call it what you like. And this video, as you can see from the title, I'm going to mention some products that sell very well, okay? I'm also going to talk about a return that I got, but the one that I have focused the title on is the Crocs shoe. What a comeback Crocs have made. Some guy, I can't remember his name, but some guy bought the company about 4 or 5 years ago and has turned it round to basically Crocs becoming quite a desirable. I mean, yeah, it's like Marmite, isn't it? You know, people either love them or hate them, but they are quite a desirable product. So I'll have a quick chat about the Crocs that I sell, because they usually do sell and you can usually get some pretty decent profit on them as well. As I say, my name's James Smith. This is channel JR74. This is In, On and Gone video number 48, where I talk about things that are coming into the store, things that are on the store. That's easy. Look at the link below. And things that have gone from the store. I always start with the gone, talking about stuff that's sold within the past week, usually promoted at, say, like 2%. Unless I say otherwise. If they're trainers, it's usually 10%. And also I will mention a few more sales as well, because I don't sell everything in a week. Right, let's get into it, shall we? And I will start with the Crocs and a return that I had as well, because I want to tell you about the return. And really, it could have been avoided if I put a little bit more detail into the description. And yeah, that's, as I say, this is educational, and I want to give you real life case study examples. Right, let's go. Okay, so the Crocs were a size 5. They were in grey. I sourced them for a £5. I wouldn't go above that. That's probably the top price that I would source Crocs at. And I sold them for £12.60, including postage. After fees and everything, that gave me £7.43 back, £2.43 profit, 48% markup. So just below the 50 to 100 that I go for, which is my target. But a product that sells quickly, okay, and if it's in good condition, it will sell quickly if photographed well. That gives you at least 48% if you source at the right price. And I did say that I wouldn't go above a £5, and I think this is an example of this. I have sourced them in the past just for a couple of quid. All right, they are certainly something that is worth keeping their eyes out for, because I hear so many people saying just how comfortable they are to wear. Yeah, some people think they're an abomination to fashion. They shouldn't be worn. Okay, other people have different opinions, but I think they're quite hard wearing. I think they're quite durable. Well, it totally depends how you wear them. To me, personally, I'll go with this. I'm these, okay? I'm wearing a pair at the moment, Adidas sliders. These are comfy as, probably the most comfortable footwear I've ever owned. So I do like the summer months where I can just wear these. But yeah, comfort's important. Okay, you can't ignore it. And if people seem to think that a product is comfortable, they will go for it. In this case, the Crocs, it went, and it went very, very quickly. Okay, so the return. I have had a return this week, and I will tell you about it, because as I say, I want you to learn from my experiences. And this was a butter dish, okay? A retro butter dish. Very, very common in the 50s, 60s, 70s, like the stainless steel classic butter dish type. And I got, shall I call it a snooty message? No, I think it's just factual. It's just to the point. There was 2 points that the buyer made when they returned this. Number one, they said it smelt of mold. There was no mold on it. You know, if you think that, then good hot water and, you know, washing up liquid should sort that problem out, even though I did give it a wash before I sent it off. But hey, It must have been because I had stored it for, I think it had been in here for about 3 to 4 months. Okay. And also they said that it was smaller than what they expected. That's slightly my fault. Not that I'm responsible for the size of the butter dish, but I didn't put the dimensions on to the description, because to me, a block of butter is sort of like a universal size, and everybody knows how big a block of butter is, and this is big enough to hold a block of butter. Okay, you've got to put the dimensions on. So when I get it back, I'll relist it and I will put the dimensions on. As for the mouldy smell, strange one, that. Strange. They're sometimes used to store cheese, these dishes, so maybe it was to do with that, but I'm pretty sure I washed it. I normally do. Don't know, but strange one. Anyway, you just take it on the chin, and you just go from there. I messaged the buyer saying, yeah, okay, sorry about that. As soon as I get it back, I'll refund you. So the refund's been started, and as soon as I get it back in my hands, the way that eBay refunds work is it's quite a good system, actually. If the buyer isn't happy, they will click on the product. They'll go into their eBay, they'll go on to purchase product, they'll click on the product that they want the refund for. You then bring up the menu for that product. It will say request refund. You click request refund. I then get message saying that the buyer wants to refund an item or return an item. And if you want to give a message as to why, you've got the ability to do that. And then you then have to send it back to me. And as soon as I receive it, I can then initiate the refund. You can also claim for a postage label from me as well. And that's what this buyer has done. They've claimed for the postage label too. So yeah, you know, you've got to accept it. You have to accept it. And as I've said in previous videos, a good way to avoid this happening is putting as much detail as you can into the description, especially with clothing, giving the pit to pit measurement and the top to bottom measurement as well. In this case, I should have put the measurements on. I didn't. Hey, you know, these things happen. So anyway, onward and upward. The Crocs was something that sold within a week, and now I'm going to tell you the other things that have sold within the week. This time, including the Crocs, there are 7 things. Okay, so we've got another 6 to talk about. So including those Crocs, there's 6 things that have sold quickly this week from the store. And I'll tell you about those, as well as another few as well that have sold. But the next one is a Sony docking station. Okay, good brand, Sony docking stations. People still have the iPods that need these docking stations. So yeah, they're still very desirable. And also this one had a DAB radio attached to it as well, or not attached to it, but actually integrated into it too. So yeah, it was a good all-rounder, a Sony XDR audio docking system. I picked it up for £5 and sold it for £23.60. That gave me £15.59 back, £10.59 profit, which is 211%. Okay, docking stations with a decent brand on them usually do pretty well. So, yeah, I was pleased with this. All right, pleased. Next up, and I talked about these last week as well, a pair of Adidas Galiletos. Okay, these are the AstroTurf boots, and there's so many AstroTurf pitches springing up now across the country, like the 3G pitches. There's basically like the plastic grass with the little bits of rubber in it. So when these Galiletos, you know, they must be absolutely full of those little rubber, what would you call them, nodules? I don't know, but yeah, these sell very, very well. They were a size 8 and they only cost me £2. And I sold them for £12.60, £6.8 back, £4.8 profit, 204%. Okay, nice. All right, so that's 2 products that are very, very, you know, well above the 50 to 100% that I go for. So even though the Crocs were just below, these 2 well above. You're not going to get absolute bangers on each and every product It is not going to happen. All right, there are some people that come into this thinking that each and everything that you sell has to be sort of like 100% and above. Unrealistic. Here we go. Okay, what's next? Shall we have a look? Yeah, next is Crocs. Very good brand, but quite difficult to source at a price where you can sell at. But these were a pair of Crocs natural movement trainers, and I sourced them for £3.99, and I sold them for £13.60. £8.11 back, £4.12 profit, 103%. So yeah, quite pleased with that. And they were sold to Germany as well. So that just goes to show that there are some brands that do have international appeal. So yeah, you know, surprising selling to Germany, because if there's one thing that Germany is very, very good at, it's making shoes. So yeah, all right, that was a good one. That was a good one. And that shows how strong the Crocs brand actually is. Next up, I had never heard of these. I'd heard of Adidas Copas, and I've heard of Adidas Gazelles, and I've heard of Adidas Superstars, or Superstar, but I'd never heard of Adidas, and Adidas Sambas, okay? But these were Adidas Bambas, okay? I had to recheck just to make sure that it had been written properly, because I thought maybe the B was an S. No, okay, Bambas, Adidas Bamba. And these were sold to France. These went internationally as well. But they were a pair of brown and black Adidas Bamba trainers, size 10, so a decent size. £5 I sourced them for, sold them for £18.60, okay? Promoted them at 10%, okay? All my trainers are promoted at 10%, because I find it, well, you know, I'm not stating the bleeding obvious, they sell quicker, okay? And I can usually sell 2 trainers in the amount of time that it would normally take me to sell 1 pair if I just promoted them at 2%. So the profits are actually higher, even though there's a little bit more taken. If you add everything together, it's actually, you know, I think more profitable. Anyway, £5, £18.60 back, £10, 8 pence back on those. £5, 8 pence profit, 101%. So again, just above my target, just above. And finally, for the quick sellers, where would we be without Marks and Spencer's? Yes, another pair of M&S trousers, jumpers and trousers from M&S sell very, very well if they are the premium range. Okay, these were a pair of M&S Heritage trousers. Again, in M&S, for these, you would be looking at £35, and they've got the elastic in the waistband as well, which gives them that little bit of maneuverability, shall we say. It does make them more comfortable, definitely. But I picked these up for £4 and sold them for £11, 10 pence. Okay, £6.15 back, £2.15 profit, 53%. Bread and butter. Okay, bread and butter. These are your staples. All right. So and you know, they sold within a week. So if you, any trader, if you were to say to them 53% in a week, they'd take your arm off. Absolutely. Right. Looking at the costs for all these now. Okay, £24.99 for those products. Back £53.44. I got £28.45 profit, okay, which is actually £4.74 per item. So, you know, I'm always going for between £4 and £5 an item. And if you're selling sort of like 3 a day, 15 quid-ish, okay, so it's 150 quid over 10 days, over a month, so 450 quid, all right? So that's what you're aiming for, and that's what you can, that is a realistic target to grow your store to. All right, 120% average markup for this week. Good, pleased, always saying pleased, always. Okay, and I'm being deadly honest with you as well, because as you know, I talk about my losses. and there hasn't been any this week, apart from the return, obviously. But hopefully, I paid £1 for that butter dish, so yeah, hopefully it goes out the door again within the next few weeks. But yeah, hunky dory. Right, a couple more things to tell you about stuff that's sold this week that I feel that you should know about, because this is educational. And the first thing is a FootJoy golf gilet. All right, sort of like the sleeveless tops. Now, these are quite popular. I'm a golfer myself. I was out on the course this week, and both the lads that I was playing with had gilets as well. I was just in a polo. Wasn't it nice weather this week? Oh, it was lovely. Absolutely lovely. But yeah, these golf gilets sell quite well, because you can, instead of wearing a jumper, you can have like a polo shirt on underneath them. This was a ladies one, a FootJoy golf gilet. £4.50 I sourced it for, £13.59 I sold it for, £8.26 back, £3.76 profit, 83%. So well within that profit margin that I like. And yeah, these are good sellers, even though it took more than a week. I think it was about a month this one took to sell. So yeah, pleased with that. Next up, T-shirts. These do take a bit longer to sell. This one was a Levi's 501 T-shirt, and that's sort of like, it's a T-shirt representing a classic, iconic brand. So yeah, these will sell. These will sell. I picked this one up for £3, sold it for £10.60. That's including postage. £7, 2p back, £4 and 2 profit. And I haven't listed this one properly. That one should have been mentioned before, because that one gives me more than 100% markup. So why the hell I've put it down in my notes as 74%, I don't know. Oh, I can't quite do. All right, let's do the maths quickly. 133%. Bought it for £3. Profit on it, £4, 2p. Yeah, roughly 133. Let's go with that. Maybe 134. Rough maths done in my head there instantaneously. Okay, so yeah, T-shirts with classic brands on. Usually, with T-shirts and polo shirts, if they've got like a huge logo on the front, like this one had, they don't normally sell that well. It's normally like the smaller, subtle ones like this. But yeah, that's what we've done. The lovely Mrs. S has just waved at me. She's back from her mother's. I'll be there in a minute, dear. Next up, coloured trousers. I keep mentioning this. I keep doing it. Trousers are usually like, they're either blue jeans or black or grey or beige. Those are like the main colours of the trousers come in, isn't it? And trousers that are different colours usually sell quite well, because there's a shorter supply of them, or they're not in the shops as much. They're not available as much, as opposed to the 4 colours that I just said. These were a nice pair of Jasper Conran red trousers. And I sourced them for £5 and sold them for £10.60. Jasper Conran, you know, good, famous designer, but heavily associated with Debenhams that went bust a few years back. But anyway, they still sell. They're still out there. They're not like an absolute top brand, but they're not a bottom brand either. As I said, £10.60 these sold for, £5.72 back, 72p profit, 14% overall. So as I said, I paid £5 for these trousers. Maybe overpaid for that. 14% isn't great. Okay, not at all. And finally, telling you about this because I overpaid for this, and I want to give you an idea of how much you should be paying for something like this. These sell well. It was a Weird Fish quarter zip jumper, but I paid £8 for it. And I use the word but because it hasn't really worked. Okay, £13.60 sold for, £8.28 back, So I said I paid £8 for it, didn't I? So yeah, 28p profit, 3%. Wow. So really, with those weird fish jumpers now, I wouldn't go above £6, maybe even a fiver. Okay, and that's doable. That's doable. They are out there. You just got to find them. Right. That's me for this week. I haven't really put a lot on this week. I have taken a little bit of a break. And I even said I've got a confession to make as well. I did say that I would release a video about spreadsheets. That video will be released this week coming. Okay, I have done it. I just haven't quite finished it yet, so I'll use it as this week's video release. Yeah, to maintain the shop and to maintain the video releases. Yeah, it is a side hustle. It's something that I do in my spare time, and there's some weeks where I just haven't really got the time to do it. I was out golfing this week. You do have to look after this. The old noggin, the old mental health. You got to do it. But one thing that I will tell you about that I'm looking at doing is this. And you see there's a classic pair here of Nike Air Force Ones. But in the back, can you see there's a small tear? There's a rip. Now, I'm going to start to look into repairing trainers like this. Is there a market for that? Basically, bit of fabric glue, sponge, cover it with a bit of fabric, and then you can get these inserts that you put into the back of shoes that I think have got pretty decent glue on them. All right, and you're not going to see them because your foot's inside the shoe. So will that work? Are people going to go for that? I'll give it a go. I'm saying a description of what I've done to it, and I'll give like before and after pictures and stuff like that. That's important. All right, never try and pull the wool over somebody's eyes. Be honest. All right, be honest. It's the best advice that I can give you, really. But yeah, I'm going to try that and see how it goes. Right, that's me done. Let's go and enjoy the rest of this bank holiday weekend, shall we? Okay, lovely. Extra day off. Woohoo.